So the back starts off very similar to the front. One main difference is that in the back, we don't have a drop neck pin. So in the front, your chin moves towards your chest and there's swallowing and lots of movement that happens in the front neck. But the back neck it's a little more chill back here. So we're going to take that 3/8 bit and we're going to pin that 3/8 bit right at the center back neck. And then pin at shoulder blade level. And then smooth it down to the waist. And pin at the bottom of the waist tape. Similar to the front, we have the line we need to deal with. The cross grain line should be parallel to the floor. So once you get that pulled over and parallel to the floor, just stick a little pin there to hold it while we do some other work. So now we have this bubble up here. That's okay. We will deal with it and we'll start smoothing around the neck. I'll stick some pins into the neck seam so that I have a boundary and I don't have to worry that I'm cutting too far. And then I'll grab my scissors and I'll just do a little clipping here. Okay, I'll take those out. And just keep smoothing. And then put a pin in the high point shoulder once I get this back neck smooth. So now I'm gonna come over here and find where my princess seam intersects with the shoulder seam. And I'm gonna make a little mark for the princess seam and a little T. For the princess seam and the shoulder seam. And then I'm gonna take my little ruler and from that T, I'm going to measure over a 1/2 inch and make a mark. Not a T, just a mark. And then along that princess seam, I'm going to measure down 3 inches. Let me just stick my fingernail in there so that I can find the groove for where that is. See, then I'll put my 3-inch mark on the princess seam and, on the shoulder seam and mark down 3 inches from the shoulder. And then I'm gonna fold on that T down to that 3-inch mark and fold myself in a little 1/2 inch dart. So the dart excess is pointing towards the neck. And I'll pin pin that dart. Pin the bottom of the dart here. So I have a little tiny 1/2 inch, 3-inch long dart at the shoulder, right there. So now I can go ahead and mark a few things. So I can mark the neck seam. Just put some dots right where that seam is. And then make a little T at high point shoulder. And then come over here and make a T for where so one part of the T is the shoulder seam. Let's see if I can dig my nails in it to help me find it. And then a cross mark for where the shoulder tip is. And it looks like I can get rid of some extra here. So about 1 inch away from the shoulder seam. And then just smooth this around. Put a pin just for temporary at the bottom of the armhole plate. And then I can go ahead and trim away some of this extra. Okay. And then, so I can go ahead and mark the armhole ridge. Put a mark for where my mid armhole pin is. Bottom of the plate, a T mark for my underarm pin and side seam. And then we put 1/2 inches at the underarm for the front bodice. For the back bodice, we're going to do 3/4 because you need more room to reach forward. So from that pin, I'll come out 3/4 of an inch and make a mark. So out, we're making it bigger. And then we'll raise her up a little bit so we can see the waist better. So now I'm gonna come over. Maybe I'll trim some of this extra off. To the princess seam, I think. And then I can go ahead and clip it a little. to allow me to smooth over to the princess seam. So I can go ahead and mark, make a good mark at center back, and then just some dots along the bottom of the waist. And then when I get to the princess seam, I'll make a T. And then she's a Missy. That's kind of the description of the body. A junior would be a younger person, so a Missy tends to have more curves. So she's going to have an 1.5-inch dart. So from my first dart leg, I'll measure over 1.5 inches. And from this armhole drop, that dart should finish about 1 inch below that. So we don't need to really mark that now. We'll mark it when we put it down on the table when we go to true it. But I'm going to kind of fold and pull the dart leg over to close the dart, and then stick a pin in it. And then I'll get another pin and I'll pull on this dart and just stick my pin in there and just try and help get it on grain. And then I'll pin that dart shut. So I don't have to pin it all the way, but a little bit. So that looks good. Now I need to start draping the waist this direction. So I'm going to trim a little more. And clip so that I can smooth this. Now this is that side waist section where on the skirt we pinched an 1/8 inch ease. On the front bodice we pinched an 1/8 inch. It's an 1/8 inch pinch for a total of a 1/4 inch ease. So it's a little tiny pinch. And I'll grab a pin. Put the pin in there and then measure. So both the front and the back, bodice and skirt, have this 1/8 inch ease. So if you're not sure what 1/8 inch is, just by eyeballing, make sure that you measure it. And then this ease is pinched right at the waist tape. So not below the waist tape, not above the waist tape, but right at the waist tape. And then we'll keep smoothing over. Trim some excess. Do some clipping. Stick a pin, smooth this over. Okay, and then we'll mark our waist tape. Skip over the ease. Make a T for the waist intersection. And then eventually when we take it down and true it, we'll connect this waist intersection with this 3/4 ease. So we'll connect this to this eventually. So looks like I can get rid of some of this extra here, and that'll make this lie a little nicer. Great. Okay, so lower her so you can see. Okay, so my pin fell out of here. Not that I need it. So I have my 1/2 inch deep 3-inch long dart with my excess pointing towards the neck. I've dotted my neck. I've marked my high point shoulder. I've marked my shoulder tip with a T showing the direction of the shoulder seam and where the intersection of the dart tip is. I've marked my armhole drop pin at the side seam and my side seam waist, and I've dotted along the waist here, making sure that I really know where center back waist is. And so that's it. We're done with the back drape, and we're ready to pin these two together to see how they work together.